The city was disappearing into the shadows of metal and concrete under the last rays of the sun. Neon lights flickered over the worn-out roads, resembling lost souls fading into the crowd. In this metropolis, where technology and chaos intertwined, a legend was whispered: the cat-eared woman. Her name was Rhea. Few knew her, and the only thing they were certain of was that she was a silhouette appearing and vanishing within the shadows. Some believed she was an android, while others saw her as the harbinger of a revolution. Her eyes burned with an eerie glow, and her fiery orange hair danced like a flame against the city's cold tones. But the most striking feature was the cat ears on her head. Were they cybernetic implants, or a mutation she was born with? No one knew for sure. Rhea walked slowly down the street. Her armored suit emitted a faint glow from the neon circuits beneath it. A digital screen on her arm flashed with red warning signals. Target approaching. A spark of revolution was about to ignite in the dark alleys of the city, and that spark gleamed in Rhea's hands. Rhea flinched at the mechanical voice coming through her earpiece. Target is 200 meters away. Surveillance drones are active. Proceed with caution. Narrowing her eyes, she gazed at the upper floors of the skyscraper at the end of the street. From above, the city was a labyrinth, a dark prison hidden among the lights. And here, every step was a risk, every move a threat. Slowly, she reached for the miniature control panel on her left wrist. As her fingers moved across the holographic display, her eyes locked onto the target's location. The system quickly scanned the area. Echelon Tower, 43rd floor, corporate security, high level. Rhea clenched her teeth. Echelon, one of the city's largest megacorporations. For people like her, entering that place was a death sentence. But there was always a way in. There always had to be. Suddenly, she noticed two figures moving through the crowd behind her. They looked human, but Rhea's trained eyes knew better. Synthetic hunters. Their faces were eerily lifelike, but their movements were just a little too mechanical. They were watching her. "Damn it," she muttered. In an instant she turned toward a narrow alley across the street. As she quickened her pace, she could hear the two figures behind her speeding up as well. They were following her. Did they want her alive, or was a corpse enough? She didn't know, and she had no intention of finding out. At the end of the alley, a fire escape loomed. She leapt, gripping the metal bars, and started climbing. The metal was cold, reeking of rust, but Rhea's mind was locked on a single command: run. A mechanical voice echoed from below. Escape confirmed. Lethal intervention authorized. The moment she heard that last word, her instincts kicked in. As she reached the top, she pressed her back against the wall and swiftly drew her weapon. She took a silent breath. If they wanted a fight, they were going to get one. Shadows flooded into the alley. A metallic click rang out. Rhea narrowed her eyes. It was going to be a long night. Rhea pressed her back against the metal wall, trying to steady her breathing as she listened intently to the movements of the synthetic hunters below. Their footsteps were too precise, too perfect. They couldn't be human. They were undoubtedly some of Echelon's finest killing machines. She reached for her chest, feeling the small, disc-shaped chip hidden beneath her armor. Is this what it's all about? She wondered. That chip. It contained a file called the Veritas Protocol, stolen from one of Echelon's deepest laboratories. The rebels had spent years wondering what Echelon was hiding to maintain its control over the city, and this protocol might hold their biggest secret. But that was just a guess. The truth was, ever since she had stolen it, they hadn't stopped hunting her. A mechanical voice echoed from below, pulling her out of her thoughts. Target detected, calculating escape routes. Rhea gritted her teeth and raised her weapon. I am not a target. I am not a fugitive. I am a ghost. Just then, a laser beam struck the wall beside her, scorching the metal on impact. Sniper support? This was getting worse. Without hesitation, she lunged forward. Dropping down from the rooftop, she landed on the floor below, her body slamming against the cold metal surface. The synthetics reacted instantly. Moving with incredible speed, they shifted their focus to her new position above them. Rhea took advantage of the opening and ran. Her feet slid across the rusted ventilation grates, her mind fixated on a single thought. Veritas Protocol. If Echelon won't even tolerate me having this, what the hell is in that file? But now wasn't the time for questions. Now was the time to survive. As she took her next step, she caught sight of a massive drone closing in on her right. A warning flashed in her vision. Target locked. And then the first shot was fired. The bullet struck the metal surface beneath Rhea, and in that instant she moved purely on instinct. Rolling to the side, she slipped out of the laser sight's focus. The synthetics below sprang into action, a coordinated attack. Echelon hadn't just deployed its machines to catch her, it had also activated its AI-driven tactical systems. But Rhea had grown up in this city. She had learned to survive among the concrete, the steel skyscrapers, and the machines. This was their world, but she had learned to live in it without becoming the prey. Without a second of hesitation, she tapped the control panel on her left wrist. Manual bypass activated. At that moment, one of the scavenger drones roaming above the city responded to her signal. These drones weren't part of any official systems. They were mostly used by data smugglers or those who needed to move unseen through the city. The drone instantly accelerated and hovered at the edge of the rooftop where Rhea stood. Just as the synthetics lunged at her, Rhea jumped onto the drone. For a few seconds, gravity fought to pull her down, but the drone's motors roared to life, lifting her away. The synthetics adjusted immediately. Beep, beep, beep. Rhea caught a glimpse of the targeting lock on her back. A missile. Goodbye, she whispered. Without hesitation, she pulled the EMP grenade from her belt and dropped it beneath the drone. A second explosion erupted, sending an electromagnetic shockwave through the air. The missile's guidance system scrambled, causing it to veer off course and slam into a nearby building. Flames and debris lit up the skyline as Rhea and the drone disappeared into the night. Once she reached a safe zone, Rhea quickly retrieved the chip and inserted it into her small, portable terminal. Encrypted data flooded the screen, decoding at high speed. And then, what she saw stole her breath away. The Veritas Protocol concealed the greatest lie of humanity. Echelon had created the central AI system that controlled the entire city. But it wasn't a supercomputer. Instead, the minds of thousands of people living in the city were being used as data nodes. The entire city had been transformed into a living supercomputer. And the worst part, Rhea herself might be part of it. As she scanned through the data on the terminal, a cold weight settled in her stomach. This had to be a nightmare. The deeper she delved into the file, the more her fear solidified until she saw her own name. File name, Veritas Protocol. ID, Rhea 227X. Synaptic link, status, active. Node location, unknown. Status, unconscious data transfer, active. Rhea's blood ran cold. What does this mean? She read further, her eyes darting over the words. Echelon was using the minds of the city's residents as data nodes. Nanobots integrated into their nervous systems transmitted their thoughts and perceptions directly to the central AI. Echelon didn't just control the city. They controlled the minds of its people. And worst of all, Rhea was one of the system's most critical nodes. That's why they had been hunting her. She was Echelon's most valuable data source. A mental explosion rippled through her mind. Memories, fragments long missing, came rushing back. She had woken up in a laboratory when she was 10 years old. They had given her an identity, Rhea 227X. But she had always believed she was just an ordinary person. Default text now, she understood. She had never been ordinary. She had been born as a data carrier. Unknowingly, unwillingly, she had been used as a hidden data center. Her thoughts, her very mind had been encrypted and converted into a constant flow of information for Echelon. And maybe some of her memories had never even been real. A wave of panic surged through her. She slammed the terminal shut, but it was too late. Her wrist control panel flashed red. Data node connection detected. Central system access confirmed. Echelon knew where she was. Worse still, she was already inside the system. A sharp pain stabbed through her skull. Her vision blurred. Inside her head, a mechanical voice echoed. Connection verified. Rhea 227X. System integrity restored. Data transmission in progress. She collapsed to her knees. She was inside the system, and maybe she had never truly been free. Rhea's head was pounding. She was being pulled into the system. The mechanical voice in her mind grew louder. Connection confirmed. Data transmission in progress. No, this was her mind. No matter how powerful they were, they couldn't take her soul. She took a slow, deep breath. As the fog in her head cleared slightly, she focused on one thought. There had to be a way out. Echelon's systems were powerful, but no system was flawless. She reopened her terminal, her eyes scanning the data at lightning speed. A weakness, a loophole. She needed something. And then she saw it. Mental data link. Primary node center. Echelon prime server. Connection status. Active. Permission to terminate. Connection denied. Emergency protocol. classified. Emergency protocol. This could be the only security failsafe that would force the system to shut itself down. But she had no access to it because the system wouldn't allow her to willingly disconnect. But what if she tricked it into thinking she was dead? It was a gamble. If she failed, her mind would collapse entirely, and Echelon would own her forever. But if she got it right, she could sever the connection. An error message flashed across the screen. Warning, user status, deceased. System will terminate connection. A voice inside her screamed, "What if this doesn't work? What if you actually die?" But there was no other choice. She took a deep breath and pressed enter. System shut down. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, the mechanical voice in her head glitched. Connection lost. Data node unresponsive. System status unknown. Suddenly, her mind reeled. The world around her warped. Reality itself seemed to collapse. She dropped to her knees. Her vision darkened. In just a few seconds, she would black out. But then, everything stopped. The voice in her head was gone. For the first time in her life, she was completely alone. She had severed the connection. Rhea slowly opened her eyes. She was still alive. She could feel her body, her thoughts, and most importantly, her freedom. But this was only the first step, because when Echelon realized she was dead, they would come for her. And now, she wasn't just a fugitive. She was the system's greatest threat. As Rhea steadied her breath, for the first time, she truly felt that her mind belonged to her. But this freedom wouldn't last long. When Echelon realized she had vanished from the system, they wouldn't simply declare her dead. They would do everything in their power to find out what had happened. And if there was one thing she knew for sure, it was that Echelon never left loose ends. She had to move, hide, erase her tracks, and uncover Echelon's greatest secret. Rhea moved silently, blending into the shadows. She slipped through the city lights like a ghost, avoiding security drones and surveillance systems. First objective, erase her identity. Horizon Black Market. Deep in the city's back streets, there was an underground market known as Horizon, a place where identities were erased, new lives were created, and traces were wiped clean. But getting there wasn't easy. Few even knew about Horizon, and those who did had to pay a steep price for entry, which meant Rhea had only one option. She had to find Shade. She reached a crumbling apartment building in one of the city's oldest districts. Knocking 3 times, then twice more, the old code. The door cracked open slightly, and from the darkness, a pair of artificial eyes gleamed. "So, you're still alive." Rhea took a deep breath. "I need my identity erased, and there's something else. I want to uncover Echelon's greatest secret." Shade paused for a moment, then smirked. "You're playing a dangerous game. Echelon's secrets are a death sentence, Rhea. But if you're really serious, I can hide you in the shadows. Just know, there's no turning back." Rhea narrowed her eyes. She had already stepped onto a path with no return. "Let's begin." Shade fired up his terminal, sifting through old Echelon databases and buried data fragments. After a while, a hidden file surfaced on the screen. Echelon Black Project, encrypted file. Rhea's eyes narrowed. This file could contain something even deeper than the Veritas Protocol. Shade tried to break the encryption, but the system instantly triggered a security alert. Warning, surveillance protocol activated. Echelon had detected them. Rhea's heartbeat quickened. "Cut the connection," she whispered. But Shade's expression turned dark. "It's too late. They've found us." Outside the door, the sound of metallic footsteps echoed. Echelon had arrived. And this time, escaping would be even harder. The metallic footsteps behind the door were getting closer. Echelon's synthetic soldiers had found them. Rhea turned to Shade. "How much time do we have?" Shade glanced at his terminal, then put on his earpiece. 10 seconds, no more. If they breach the door, we have zero chance of escape. Rhea took a deep breath. "Then we fight before they get the chance." Shade smirked slightly. "I like the way you think." Echelon security network connected. Targets locked. Forced entry initiated. A mechanical voice called from outside the door. "Surrender, RHEA 227X. Resistance is futile." Shade unzipped a small bag, pulling out 2 EMP grenades. He grinned. "I've always loved futile things." He tossed one to Rhea. She caught it, gripping it tightly. "We need to take them down and unlock this file. Are these secrets worth dying for?" Shade's gaze flicked to the terminal screen one last time before meeting her eyes. "This war started a long time ago, Rhea. We're just lighting the fuse." As the door lock exploded open, Rhea rolled the EMP grenade forward. EMP detonation. Outside, the synthetic soldiers flickered violently as their circuits overloaded. Their systems crashed for a few crucial seconds. This was their moment. Rhea lunged forward, taking down 2 disabled synthetics in a single swift motion. Shade leaped beside her, using his electroblade to disable another. But more soldiers were pushing through the door. The EMP had only given them seconds. They needed something bigger. Shade grabbed Rhea's arm, pulling her toward the terminal. "We can't fight them forever, but if we crash their system, we can escape. I can blind every Echelon soldier temporarily, but I need full access codes." Rhea gritted her teeth. "We tried opening that file, but the system detected us." Shade's eyes darkened. "Then instead of breaking into Echelon's system, we let them break into us." Rhea frowned. "What do you mean?" Shade rapidly rewrote lines of code. Re-establishing connection. Requesting access to Echelon's system. He was forging a false identity, making it seem like they were part of Echelon's security network. "I'm tricking their system into thinking we're one of their security hubs. That way, I can cut off every soldier's visual feed at once." But to do that, he had to momentarily connect their minds to Echelon's network. It was a deadly gamble. Shade locked eyes with Rhea. "If I do this, Echelon will detect me. That means we'll both be targets." Rhea glanced at the weapon in her hand, then back at Shade. She spoke just one sentence. "We already are." Shade smirked slightly, then executed the code. Connection established. All security protocols disabled. Synthetic soldiers' visual links terminated. In an instant, every Echelon soldier went blind. "Now we run," Shade yelled. Rhea burst through the door, disabling the soldiers one by one. They couldn't see a thing. This was their chance. A great storm was brewing over the city. Rhea and Shade were no longer just fugitives. They had become humanity's last hope. In their hands, they held the Veritas Protocol, the key to exposing Echelon's greatest secret. But revealing the truth wouldn't be easy. Echelon would stop at nothing to hunt them down, which meant they had only one chance: destroy the system from within. Target Echelon's central data tower. This tower controlled the neural network of the entire city. It was the core from which the AI manipulated people's consciousness. If they could infiltrate it, they could dismantle Echelon's control entirely. As Shade finalized his hacking preparations, Rhea checked her weapons. "Are you ready for this?" Shade asked. Rhea narrowed her eyes. Not being ready isn't an option. Reaching the central tower wasn't easy. Echelon had activated every defense system at its disposal. But Rhea and Shade found a way in. Shade hacked into a hidden maintenance access leading into the tower, temporarily disabling some security measures. Secret entrance unlocked. Without hesitation, Rhea rushed inside. There was no turning back. When they reached the core, they stood before a colossal server chamber. At its center, the city's artificial intelligence flickered like a pulsating light. Echelon Prime AI, active. Shade connected to the terminal, attempting to take control of Echelon's systems. But then, the AI spoke. "If you shut me down, the city will fall into chaos. People need this order. If you destroy me, you will also destroy their safety." Rhea stared into the digital eyes on the screen. Was this a lie, or was there some truth in its words? Rhea turned to Shade. "We can't destroy the system entirely, but we can control it." Shade frowned. "What do you mean?" Rhea typed the final command into the terminal. "Echelon AI Override Protocol. Activated. System control transferred to the people." Now, the people of the city had the power to govern themselves. Echelon's tyranny was over, but the system wasn't entirely destroyed. Instead of being a weapon, it would now serve humanity. As the sun rose, the city had changed. The people were free. Echelon's shadow had been erased, and Rhea was finally free from her past. She had been born a ghost, but now she would be remembered as a hero. Shade stepped beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "So what do we do now?" Rhea gazed at the city skyline. "We build a new future." And so the Shadow City's daughter stepped out of the darkness, bringing freedom to humanity.